conditions were responsible. And today, it was the same story. This morning's liftoff was once again put on hold due to stiff winds. This is the last chance the balloons could take off. Bob Hansen is live at the State Fairgrounds. Bob, how's it looking?
Well, Loretta, if the third time was a charm, the fourth time is just frustrating. As you said, yesterday morning they came out here trying to get these balloons off the air. It was too windy and wet. Last night, threats of rain and wind. This morning, the wind. And again now, the wind appears to, well, is wrecking havoc out here. The balloonists are out here set up. They're trying to get them lift off, and they've got about another 40 minutes for that to happen. Now, the person who's feeling a lot of pressure here is the meteorologist for the great balloon race, and that's John Belski. He's here with me now. And John, what's the problem?
All right, you said it, Bob. The wind, you can see behind me here, the little balloons tied on the balloon truck here are blowing pretty good. 12 miles per hour is really the breaking point on where the pilots can safely take off, and of course preferably a lot less. And right now we're getting gusts to about 20 miles per hour. The hope on this afternoon's race was that sometimes after 6 o'clock the winds begin to die down a bit. So far that doesn't seem to be occurring. As time goes on, the chances of getting off the ground are getting smaller and smaller. One other very strange thing, this morning and again this afternoon, the strongest winds in all of Kentucky and Indiana are right here in Louisville. In fact, this morning both states had calm winds except right here where it's just too dangerous for the pilots. And this afternoon, again, the very strong winds right here. So we're just very unlucky this time of year.
Okay, thanks a lot, John. Again, they are going to stick around for another about 30 minutes or so and see if there's any change. If you're wondering, the only time that the Great Balloon Race has ever been canceled, that has never had a chance to lift off, was back in 1983. Back then, we had heavy rains and were not able to lift off. So, unfortunately, we may be meeting another record here. But we'll stay out here. If there's any change, we'll get back to you. Loretta?
Bob, you've been out there all of those times. Is the crowd holding up? Because, I mean, going out all those times, is it holding up? I
don't think it's quite as strong as it was yesterday and this morning, but there's still a number of I'd say at least, geez, I can't. There's thousands of people out here. I'm looking and seeing people all lined up here, but it's not as heavy as it was. I talked to a few people who have been out here every time. One person I asked, why do they keep coming out? They say they're kids. So there may be some disappointed kids tonight. Loretta?
All right, thanks, Bob. That's Bob Hansen reporting live.
Loretta, looks like the winds are still a little bit too high to pick up the balloons yet. We're still waiting for word on that. I'll have details about your forecast for this Derby week. Stay with us. We're only down to about 30 more minutes for the possibility of getting the balloons up. Winds are coming from the north at about 16 miles per hour. That's just a little too steep. We need winds around 9 miles per hour at the maximum to get these balloons off the ground safely. So we're going to keep standing by out here watching for it and see if we can't get these winds to drop off a little bit. In the meantime, here's the way things look for us. Temperatures aren't too bad. It feels very comfortable out here, especially with some of the sunshine we have. You can see that we have a few clouds here and there, but generally sunshine coming our way. Right now it's 66 degrees at Stanford Field, 67 degrees over at Bowman. We did pick up a trace of rainfall this morning, just a very little bit of rain at Stanford Field. The high temperature for the day, right at 69 degrees, and the low temperature this morning, 54. Relative humidity right now is at 42%. The winds are from the north at 16 miles per hour. That's the bad news. And the barometer itself is now at 30.10. Over the next few hours or so, the barometer should continue going up. We've got a little trough of low pressure that's coming our way, and as that trough gets a little bit closer to us, we'll continue to see some of these clouds around. But the rain has disappeared from the radar. We had several light showers showing up over the past 2 hours. Now they've gone. It looks like we're going to see the rest of the evening with just a chance, just a slight risk of a shower here and there. Our satellite picture does show some of the heavier rain down to the southeast right now. Parts of Florida have picked up lots of rain. A tornado actually touched down at West Palm Beach, Florida, knocked over a tree. They had hail down in Miami, so the thunderstorms continue down there. And around the Gulf Coast, stretching up through the Atlantic coast, through the Carolinas, heavy thunderstorms. But you'll notice through our area, very little rain associated with the system. We have a cold front that has passed our way, and we had hoped that the winds would start to calm down after that cold front went through here, but that has not been the case. The cold front now is just over to our east. High pressure is building in behind the system, and thanks to that high and a low pressure system over Michigan, the winds continue coming in from the north and northwest, so it looks like we're going to see a cool breeze blowing for the next couple of days. I've got some good news and some bad news for you over the next week or so. Right now, if the pattern holds up, it looks like our next chance of rain is actually going to be, beyond tomorrow, will be on Derby Day. Otherwise, though, the rest of the week looks very nice with temperatures running into the 70s for highs and lots of sunshine. So the parade is in good shape. The steamboat race looks good. Lots of nice weather coming up during the week. So here's the forecast for tonight. Give you the rest of the details. We're calling for mostly cloudy skies with a slight risk of a shower tonight. Low temperature actually is going to be cool at 51 degrees. For tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies. There's a slight risk for a shower during the afternoon. The high temperature will be 65 degrees. And the rest of the forecast for this Derby week looks pretty good. Tuesday will call for 70 degrees. Looks like 67 on Wednesday, but not a cloud in the sky for the steamboat race. Then coming up on Thursday, 70 degrees, a few clouds here and there, not much though. And Friday, a few more clouds, but the temperature goes up to 73. And if we think about Derby Day, maybe we'll see partly cloudy skies, temperature about 75. That sounds pretty good to me, Loretta.
Sounds good to me, too, if we could just get those balloons up and away.
We've got a lot of disappointed kids out here right now.
All right, thanks, Craig.
Wave TV3, Louisville. Now, Lauretta Harris, Craig Edwards weather, and Rick Van Hoos sports. This is Wave 3 News Nightcast.
It looked and sounded like the 4th of July tonight along the riverfront here in Louisville. But this fireworks show was actually part of the Brown and Williamson Derby Fest. Thousands of people ventured to the Belvedere to see the sky light up. We'll show you more of the fireworks later this half hour. Good evening. For only the second time in its history, the Derby Festival Great Balloon Race was canceled today. Tricky winds grounded the race all weekend. Bob Hansen, who spent the last 2 days going back and forth to the fairgrounds, tells us a lot of people were disappointed by the cancellation.
We just ask you to bear with us, have patience.
Patience and hope was about all people could muster early this morning. Balloonists tested their equipment, and as the sun peeked out over the fairgrounds, the optimistic even pulled out their balloons. But unfortunately, the Great Balloon Race turned into the Great Balloon Wait. It was canceled with one final shot this afternoon.
I hope they get off the ground this time.
What brings you out a fourth time now? All 5 of my kids. Keep wanting to come back and see it.
The crowds were thinner this afternoon, but still thousands watched with their fingers crossed. But the winds got the upper hand. It was just too much for a safe race. And for only the second time in the race's history, they called it quits.
We were washed out in 1983, and the wind this year blew us out, if you will. It's such a build-up, and the big disappointment is all the people that come out, and they sit here for hours on end, and hopefully this won't happen again.
So for the 4th time in 2 days, frustrated balloonists packed it in while the crowds walked back to their cars. In fact, the only ones not disappointed with the winds brought kites. At the Kentucky Fairgrounds, Bob Hansen, Wave 3 News, Nightcast.
Now, race officials say they can't reschedule the race for later this week. Now, that's because they say too many of the balloonists have to get back to work or have other events to attend.
You know, I was with John out at the balloon race this afternoon, and John kind of sneaked his way out.
Can you blame him?
It's not John's fault. He just forecasts the weather, folks. He doesn't make it, and indeed, John told me that he might be sick later this week, which is not good news for me because, you know, who gets to come in and work if John doesn't make it? Now, John will be here. He's a brave guy. Anyway, we'll talk about the weather right now. Here's what's going on for us.